Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to the podcast, the Evil Dungeon Master Universe podcast. I am your host, the Evil Dungeon Master Vince, and we're back for a Friday edition of this podcast, episode 63, I believe, since I started back up on this podcast for season 6. Going strong, every weekday so far is for a podcast, and people appreciate it. And numbers have been going up. I appreciate those people that are following along and signing up to the channel and my Ko-Fi as well. Ko-Fi, was it co-fi.com/theevildm is where you can go and donate. I need to start putting some things up there like the virtual tokens that I use in games because people were interested in those when they saw them on the live co-op plays that we did. Well, not live, but recorded co-op plays. On today's episode, I'm just going to reach into the email bag, which you can email me by askthedm@theevildm.com is my email address. Facebook.com/theevildungeonmasters, where you can also send something, or on Twitter @theevildm. So today we got an email from Alex R. It came directly to my email box. A topic suggestion for your podcast. Okay. It says, "Hey, Evil DM. As a dedicated listener to your podcast, I've always admired how you bring fresh and engaging content to each episode. I really appreciate all the things that you do." Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate you saying that. I was wondering if you could talk about the concepts of integrating modern technology into traditional RPGs in one of your coming episodes. With the rise of digital tools such as AI and virtual platforms, I'm curious about your take on how technology can enhance or perhaps detract from the traditional role playing experience. If you could just cover that, I'd appreciate it. Keep up what you're doing and ignore the trolls out there that keep harassing you on a daily basis. Signed, Alex R. Uh, sure. Thank you for the topic. And you're right. I will ignore the trolls out there that I live rent free in their head. So we will continue along because we don't talk about drama stuff here. We're just all gaming, no clickbait and no drama. But so modern technology has come a long way for gaming. We have virtual tabletops now, which a lot of us use. I mean, we got Roll20 was probably the first real. I want to say the first real popular one. Well, I can't say that actually. Open RPG, Web RPG, those ones way back in the early 2000s were probably the first real online tabletops that people can join on via the web and play games. They didn't really have voice checks. You'd had to use not Teams, TeamSpeak or Ventrilo back then, and you had this other software, Open RPG, or was it Web RPG? I forget which one it was, but I played many games on there without voice. It was mostly just typing and stuff like that, chat typing. Well, that was a lot of fun. But that's all we had back then. And then we got Neverwinter Nights, the video game for on the computer, where you can actually join, and a DM could set up an entire adventure and run players through it, kind of like an MMO, but you were making custom monsters, custom areas, and everything for your party each week. And I knew quite a few people that did that. I went through the DM training course that they had, so you can do that, and you had to tell a story while you. It was very much like playing D&D, except you were invisible in the game and your icon was invisible, and you had to throw monsters and tell stories and be NPCs just like a regular D&D, and your players would control the characters just like if they were playing D&D, except there was no real voice unless you had Ventrilo or whatever back then. And then I think the first thing that I saw that was really web-based for virtual tabletop was probably Roll20. Probably one of the first ones. And I'm sure I'm mistaken here and someone's going to comment and correct, and which I appreciate you do. Go for it if I missed something, but that was first thing for me. After Roll20 came out, we had a couple of things like, I think it was Map Tools was one of the popular ones, maybe before Roll20. I never really got into Map Tools, so I can't comment on that because I remember it was always a pain to deal with because you had to have the right software and set it up a certain way, and I didn't want to bother with it. Nothing against those people that use it and still use it, which is really cool. Roll20, and then do the visual Forgotten. Is it something? Fantasy Grounds, Fantasy Grounds 1 and 2, and then we got Foundry, and then there's so many other ones online. Owl Bear, blah blah blah. Now at this point, that anybody can play an online game anywhere via Discord. Now Roll20 is part of it. You could use whiteboards, sharing via Discord as well. So there's a lot of things you could do for digital tools. There's also a lot of digital tools for maintaining your campaign, such as like World Anvil and Epic Words was one of them, and another one that I'm escaping my mind at the moment that's pretty popular, Lorekeeper. There are so many online things that you can do to keep your campaign going. You can also use Obsidian Notes like I do. It's local on your computer to organize your campaign. And I think that's probably the best solution for me. It may not be for you. It takes a little bit getting used to setting it up, but there's a group that's dedicated to helping. And you can ask as many questions as you want, and they're very, very helpful. Many people will walk you through things if you want, just to help you set up, because everybody wants another person to game and not have a problem with it. I like using Obsidian Notes for my campaign. Now, I've talked about the digital part of it, and I didn't talk about the traditional part of it. Now, people like paper and pencil. People like notebooks. People like old school stuff. I'm an old school player. I'm an old school gamer. I like old stuff, but I don't like old organization. One, because I'm in technology and I try to keep up with the trends of everything for technology, for one. And my handwriting is so bad that I get hand cramps, and sometimes I can't even figure out what I wrote. Yeah, I remember back in the day writing my campaign on the typewriter. We had two types of typewriters. We had the old fashioned, plunk 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 one, and then we had the electronic typewriter, which had a little tiny screen on it. Or actually, I think my mom at one point had an electronic typewriter that would act without a screen, kind of like a regular typewriter, but it moved a little bit quicker. We had those. But overall, the feel of actually writing it on paper is it makes you feel accomplished. And I don't know, for me, when I used to write things on paper, all my campaigns, I'd have all these various binders full of notes, and I have all these old notebooks of me writing things down, such as my DC Heroes campaign that I did for Nightfall Bay, all that stuff in a notebook. And some of it's hard to read because a lot of my handwriting over the years got really bad because of my hand cramps and everything like that. So it's hard to read. But now that I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's a pretty big accomplishment to actually write all this stuff out. But then you look at it also from the digital point of view, you now have this organization, say on Lorekeeper or um, an Obsidian Notes, and you have this entire database with this little web of things that are connected and different situations and all these ideas for your campaign. And you're like, wow. So, I mean, the dynamic for either one of them is very easily, I don't, it's hard to really determine what is better than what, because everybody has their likes and dislikes, and it really depends on you as the player, or the dungeon master, what you want to use. Do I allow technology at the table while we're gaming? No. Phones, obviously, you have to have your phone because we're all adults here, and you need to stay in touch with your families and everything. But we just ask that you just put the phone in your pocket, and if somebody calls you, obviously you just step away and go take your phone call. But when we play a game, the only person that has a digital device at the table for their notes is the GM. Players will have their pen and paper and their character sheets and their dice. Though we have let other people who have problems like me, who can't take notes or everything like that, have a simple tablet with a note taking app open only with no internet access. Because we found in our group, that is, we found that people tend to get distracted and start cruising the web and looking for stuff and not paying attention to the game because they get bored at a particular time waiting for something. So we all agreed no technology at the table unless it's certain minor things like we've talked about. From a player point of view, I do like the digital platform for character management. I do like how D&D Beyond, or I think Pathfinder also has it too, something of their own. Demiplane, that's what it is, Demiplane, where you can have your character all ready to go, and then say you go somewhere and you forget it, like, oh crap, you could just pull it up on your tablet, phone, computer, print it out if you want to print it or display it. I do like that. I like the ability that there's character builders, so you don't have to spend hours building a character. You can easily just kind of pick what you want, and the thing calculates it for you. And I really liked those things, even in the past when people made up the AD&D. When we played AD&D, there was the original DOS Dungeon Master Assistant, which I really liked because it helped build characters, NPCs, and things like that. So I was all for character management part of it because it made things easier. I don't think the dynamic between dungeon masters and players has changed much just because technology has moved forward. If anything, it made things a lot easier for both parties overall. Some people might think it's lazy. I don't think it's lazy at all. There's some people that just pure pen and paper. That's the only way role playing games should be played. I like the bells and the whistles, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I know people fight about it all the time. How you're a role playing game. You should be playing it in person. You should only be using dice and table. No, I kind of like playing now on Discord or on any other software, Zoom, Teams, or anything like that, as opposed to playing in person these days. Because I'd rather just be able to just click online, play my game, chat with my friends for a little bit, and then click, hang up, done. That's just how I feel these days. I used to be very pro only gaming in person, but with everything at your fingertips now and internet being so wonderful and having virtual tabletops that you can play on, I like that better. And I know some people don't, but that's you. Again, it's your own prerogative and your own flavor for your gaming, what you like, and no one can tell you you're wrong. Only you can tell you you're wrong. Well, hopefully that answers your question, Alex. I appreciate the thought-provoking question that you had sent in. If you want to send questions in, ask the DM at evildm.com is my website address. Or my email address. Evildm.com is my address. And we're going to head out, and we're going to keep it original, keep it old school, and no drama, no clickbait, all gaming on this channel. Good night, and God bless everybody.